I just used a couple pieces of rubber and adjustable pliers to grip the bottom of the shifter to give that a twist to release it. You do have to be low enough down to do this. You don't always need pliers, but if they've been on a long time, you may. You can see that the shifter has four places where it won't release the tabs, but as soon as you undo that, then those tabs can be released, and that's how it pops off. The back panel has a single screw hidden under the carpet. Just undo this single screw, and then the panel moves forwards towards the front of the car to pop it off. Underneath the carpeted piece is two screws that you remove to remove the leather side panel. There's three clips at the front of this panel. You move it backwards, and the upper clip is hard to release, but it will come. On cars with a right-hand speaker, you pop this vent cover off, and then you remove the screw to pop this panel out. Push down the top of the pop lock to pop this connector off. For the speaker, there's a single screw that you remove, and then the speaker pulls backwards and moves out in order to release it from the car. Speaker connector has two locks on the side. Push them to release it. Similar to the left side, there's two screws that hold this leather side panel in. Then it has the three locks on the back of the panel closest to the radio. The top one is always difficult, but with a little bit of force, this will pop off. Here I use a skin sheet wedge pry bar tool to remove this panel. As you move along this panel, you'll find different plastic clips. Be gentle but firm in order to pop this up. If you use this tool, you generally won't do any damage to the plastic clips, and it's strong enough to do the prying. You'll see as you move forward, start at the front and move to the back. That's the best way to do it. Now you can move along the passenger side and do the same thing here. Just gently pry up in the spaces in between the clips, and it will pop up. Move right to the front. Your shifter should be off by this point, and so you can pry right to the single one in the center at the very back. Wheels blocked and e-brake on. You can put the shifter into neutral or drive here, and then very gently flex the front wings of this panel out, and careful not to scratch anything below it, and remove it nicely. Remove the four screws that hold this second panel on, and it will just come right out for you. Like before, just be careful that the front of this panel doesn't hit any of the other panels to scratch them. You may have to bend it out ever so slightly in order to do this. Depending on your model, you will find 3 or 4 screws underneath the rubber piece in the back pocket of the center console. In this case, we have the USB and auxiliary connections here, so we'll remove 3. And then that auxiliary piece, again, you gently pry inside the pocket in order to pop that whole panel up. There is a clip at the very front of that you, once you pop up, you can get that whole piece out. After twisting this out of the way, there's the last and final screw for the center console at the rear. Remove that. If you have the auxiliary panel, it will have 2 connectors on it. First, you have to free up the wires out of all the clips that are there. I've done this one-handed, so it was a little more difficult, but still easily doable. You just have to snake it out. For the main one, it's simply another push clip. For the second one, there's a push clip on the top, and then you can remove it. Use a plastic pry bar tool to remove this piece underneath the emergency brake to undo the single screw that's there. There's one screw hiding under this front cubby, so you have to remove it. There's two screws, you remove those, and then that switch panel that's above the cubby will want to come with it. You just move this out ever so slightly, and then you can move this cubby down and backwards in order to release it from its clips. After removing this center screw, you'll find the main harness on the right side just underneath the radio. Push the two push clips and release it. Everything should be released at this point. Now you remove the center console by lifting it up from the back. Be very careful of the emergency brake handle. You'll have to feed the harness for that auxiliary panel that's inside the pocket through a hole in the panel before you can remove it. And just simply flip it over, have a good look, and you're done. To remove the ABS, the key has to be out of the ignition and then the battery disconnected. It has 3 screws, one on the left side and 2 on the right. Simply undo these screws, and I undid them by hand as soon as they were loose. There are 3 grounds on the left side nut, so be sure to replace them when you reinstall the module. The connector has a lock that flips back and self-releases. Now the module's out.